and I'll have to set this up just for people listening, what liquid trout is and all that kind of stuff. I'll try to say it relatively quickly, but I realize it's actually the 20-year anniversary actually this year.
Crazy.
So we did Mike and Russ. It was a fringe play Pants and I did, and we did that for the Edmonton International Fringe Festival. And we realized we needed, in order to actually do a play there, you have to actually have a company and a name and all that kind of stuff. That's where this all began. And so, long story short, we created a company called Liquid Trout. In my mind, I would always wanted to have like a Monty Python or a Broken Lizard kind of thing, just like a comedy troupe that would do things, put on, do movies and that kind of stuff. But I just happened to write a one-act play in high school that my drama teacher liked, and she encouraged us to pursue it. So we did that for our first thing. And skipping along, I'll just say from there we went from Mike and Russ. We did a short film called The Liquid Trout Project. We tried to do a feature film called Ringworm twice. We did a kind of a sketch comedy thing called Nut Carnival, Andrew's favorite name. We did and then our final project that actually still had the name Liquid Trout was my first feature called Love Hate. But all four of us have actually had a hand almost in all of these things in one way or another, whether it was just like helping them with marketing or actually being in it, creating, writing, acting, all that kind of stuff. And so I thought it'd be fun for us four to share any standout memories from all the insanity that we had done over the years. That would have been from 2005 to 2012, technically, with Love Hate. But I don't know. I kind of wanted to start with Jeremy because he has the most unique perspective, having not only an outsider's perspective, but because he actually was in some of these. But yeah, I was just curious what you, from an outsider's perspective, helping with a lot of marketing, promotion, website stuff, but also being in the trenches with us a lot of the time, doing behind the scenes work. Did you have any standout memories from any one time or one project or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I probably have something for each of them. It was always just kind of cool to be on the perimeter, and for some of them I was closer to the center, but the ones where I could kind of look at it as one big thing and see what you guys were each doing and see how you were each evolving and maybe even finding your way in terms of finding things that you prefer to do or you don't. I think at the beginning, you guys were kind of all doing all the things, right? And then as you kind of went along, you started to kind of see one of you really liked to act more and some of you liked to write or direct or whatever. And so that was kind of cool to see those things sort of evolve naturally over the course of your projects. But I just remember it's kind of just like a blur of laughter. There was a lot of just really fun moments on set. It's also where I discovered personally for me that I wanted nothing to do with film. It's so much work. And I think you have you get this impression, this kind of romanticized idea about Hollywood writers, and they just sort of write a script in a beer soaked hotel room, and then they submit it and someone pays them lots of money and then they go off and do the next one. But especially because you guys were doing the whole thing and it just was so much work. I remember even just I think on one of the films, I think it was Love Hate, I was doing these sort of these small videos, behind the scenes videos. And I remember just that was so exhausting to me. And when I had to I finished that thing, which was very minor in the grand scheme of things, but I would finish each episode and then someone would be like, hey, we need to pack up the lighting or go pick up these cords on the floor or whatever, right? And I was like, are you kidding me? I'm tired. I want to go home already. And I wasn't even there all the time. I was just there when I could, on the weekends or whenever it was that you were shooting. So it was just, the whole thing just felt like so much more work than I ever wanted to do. So I was like, you know what? I'm glad that you pursued this, because I was like, and I didn't pursue it because it just doesn't fit my temperament, I think, in general. But so I really liked the roles I would get in your projects because they were usually a lighter load than you guys had, to be honest. So yeah, but no, I think there was I think the one that you actually cast me in was Ringworm, and I remember I can't remember the character. It was sort of like I was supposed to be kind of like a super nice guy, like
Yeah,
always
you were
just really positive and
the
stuff.
tech, I think. Weren't you
Yeah,
like the
something like
techie or
that.
something we called
And I
you?
remember just a scene where I don't even know what's happening. I think someone's eating like a really gross sandwich or
Yes.
something, or someone's
Really
making a
big,
sandwich.
like a big sandwich, I think, right? Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. And all I remember is Enver was filming, and he wanted to because you had multiple cameras, and Enver he was like, I want to just put the camera on Jeremy the whole time, and I just want to have his reactions. And so I was like, he's like, okay, so you're watching someone eat a sandwich, and I couldn't actually see the sandwich because where I was standing, I was off to the side, but I was supposed to be reacting to it, so I couldn't see the sandwich. But I was just sort of sitting there going like, oh, oh, gross, whatever. And then someone yelled cut or whatever, and Enver comes over and he's like, man, I want you to be like repulsed, like borderline vomiting. He's like, just go so nuts with your reactions to this sandwich. And so I was like, all right. So I just started doing the most ridiculous. Like I was like, just something that was just so over the top. There's no way that would ever be used. But he was killing himself laughing. He thought it was funny, but I don't I don't think it was like appropriate for the scene. That was like I think that was the only like kind of full day of shooting that I got to do before it was kind of canceled or whatever it was. But yeah, no, I mean the whole thing was it's always been fun to be part of these projects with you guys. And
Hey, wasn't that
and
Andy
see,
playing a homeless man that we hired named Merle?
Yeah.
Who made that sandwich?
Yeah.
I think Jeremy dies, right? Doesn't a light fall on him at some point?
That's right.
Oh, it wasn't a snake? Don't I get killed by a snake?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Somebody put a snake in a drawer as like a prank. And then, you inadvertently.
Because you guys were telling me that there was going to be a day where you actually bring in a snake wrangler.
Right.
And I was going to have to like hold a real snake. And I was dreading that day. I'm so glad we never got to that.
That's right. I forgot.
Yeah, I seem to also recall we were going to roll your body up in a carpet and toss it off of a bridge.
Right.
Was another scene.
That's right.
Yeah,
right. Because we
had all the permits for that lined up. We were because your character Andrew was like our fixer sort of, and we were like, "What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Let's call Lyle Bombay." And then it just cut to like you there rolling him up in a carpet. I think like it was just your solution was just to roll him up in a carpet, and throw him off a bridge. Classic.
Yeah.
I'm tempted to try and describe Ringworm, but just so people have context, but it's almost impossible to.
I mean, the gist of it was just that idiots who don't know what they're doing try to put on a play, then it's just the worst play of all time, and everything goes wrong.
In a Sunday school.
Yeah, in a church. Yeah. There's a lot of other weird elements to it for sure. Ringworm, almost all like. A lot of my favorite memories were on Ringworm. I had so much fun doing that.
Yeah, it was the one that got away,
Yeah, for sure.
Even I remember the casting process being crazy because you were actually doing real casting, but it was also part of the film.
That's right.
I think, right? Am I getting that right?
Yeah.
So I had a friend who like notoriously froze up in the middle of the
That's one of my things. I'll save that that's one of my memories I got to bring up.
Yeah, go ahead.
So this is actually separate from the church. This was no. This is tell yours. Mine's different. Mine's Kelly auditioning for a part in Love Hate. Unless you might be confusing it.
No, you go ahead just in case because I might be confusing it.
Yeah. So Dan and I were casting for our feature film called Love Hate, and we were just meeting with people, sometimes in coffee shops, sometimes in my apartment, giving them the script. Anyone who showed interest in it, we would give them multiple characters if they wanted to, and they would just read the lines. And all we were looking for, we didn't need any kind of like expert acting. If you could just say lines casually that sounded believable, you pretty much got the part. And one of Jeremy's friends, Kelly, I don't know, I'm sure he doesn't care if we say his name. The story is not the best, but it's not a big deal. But he expressed interest in this one character who's essentially like it's alluded that he's like a pedophile kind of character. And he just has a lot of things that are kind of odd, or you'd be like, what the heck? And it takes place during a kind of a therapy session. And anyway, he comes to my apartment, and it's just me, Dan, and him. And we're in my living room. And we've done this before with a ton of other actors. We just give them the lines, audition, obviously. It's very casual. They're just on my couch. They're reading the lines, and we go, cool, awesome, see you later. We give Kelly the script, and we're like, okay, so you're playing this guy. I think his name was Pete, maybe. I don't know. I forget. And we're like, just read the line of Pete, and we'll do the other characters. And if this is like this is the script. He was like, I give him the script, and he's on the couch, and we're like, okay, so I don't know what we said. Action, like, you can go anytime. And Kelly sits there on the couch, and he's kind of just staring at the script for a second. And I don't know, 10 seconds goes by. He hasn't started yet. And Dan and I are kind of looking at each other, and because it's been like a little while, but maybe he's just soaking in the lines. Maybe he's just like trying to get it in. And he's just like kind of quiet for a bit. And then I'm finally like, you can start anytime. You can just start with the first line there. And he's like, okay. And then he looks down at the lines again, and he's like, and then Dan and I are looking at each other again. We're like, what's going on here? Is like we couldn't speak. We didn't want to we want to say anything. We were just like sitting there for a bit. And then like an actual like, probably it felt like 5 minutes. It was probably like 30 seconds went by of just pure silence. And finally Dan's like, he's like, you can start, like, just, you can speak anytime. You have the first line, just start anytime. And he's like, okay, yep. And he looks back down again, and again, like, just like even longer this time, just pure silence. He just like, I don't know what happened. And like at this point now, because it was like the third time of silence, we're like holding back so much laughter because we were just so uncomfortable, and like we didn't know what was going on. And eventually we're just like, okay. Okay, and then that was it. Like he left, and he didn't say a single line. I don't know if he got like super nervous or what happened, but that was just like one memory that always jumps out at me as like one of the most uncomfortable, awkward, but also funny moments of my life. I still don't know what happened. I don't know if he ever told you, Jeremy, if that story ever came up again. But
no, I didn't dare bring it up. I didn't. Yeah.
Because the weird thing was that it was all him. Like, it was all his. We didn't ask him to do it. Like, it was, he showed interest in doing it, and he had helped us with other things. We filmed like a scene in his apartment one time for the short I did, and he was always interested in doing more. But yeah, he just completely froze up, and it was super super uncomfortable. Was that the story you were thinking of?
Yeah, it was. I mixed up him and Brendan. Brendan was the one who auditioned for Ringworm, and I remember him. I drove him to the audition, and he came out afterwards, and he got in the car, and he's like, "They just kept laughing at me the whole time." That's what I was confused, because I was like, "Oh yeah," that's part of the movie. They're like, you guys weren't really paying attention to the auditions, right? I think
we were like in character, like
yeah. But none of the people auditioning were told that. I don't think, or Brendan wasn't, at least. Anyway, so he came out, and he's like, they weren't even paying attention. Like, they're just like laughing. And I was like, oh, well, I don't know.
Yeah, Chris Wilcox had that. He really got depressed afterwards because he also thought he was auditioning for an actual part. I don't know if we didn't tell anyone on purpose or what. Yeah,
I guess not.
I thought we did. I don't know. But yeah, Chris went home, and he was like super depressed, and Dan had to be like, no, that was part of the thing. Like, you are in the movie. Like, that is your part or whatever. But yeah, a lot of people just left very sad after those auditions.
That's what we call good directing, you know.
True emotion.
Yeah, yes. Exactly. And that
I always remember just all of the bizarre things we would go by on our prop runs. Remember, I don't know how late at night it was, but I can't remember. I know Ember was there, and then Cooper. I think you were there. I don't know if you were there, Pants.
Oh, but, is this? I think this was buying the dildo.
Yeah, I was not. Yeah, so we buy this.
Way to bury the lead. Wow.
So we buy this like 10-inch suction cup dildo, and I can't remember what we needed it for, but Amber just like ended up sticking it on the steering wheel and driving it. And then every car we would pass would like look over, and here's just this thing waggling right in his face. And he'd just turn over and like turn over to the car beside us and like do some ridiculous, like as Enver was always want to do. Enver's one of those folks that just has funny bones, like to his very core is just a hilarious, funny person.
I've told so many people I think he was probably the funniest person I've ever known. Naturally funny.
One of them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And he doesn't know it either. He's not even he actually doesn't think he's like that funny. Yeah. It was always so. I think he's like. I always thought he was like the most gifted improviser of all of us.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll rattle some of mine off. I had 3 written down. One of them was the Kelly no response. Another one I had was. It was kind of known as the curse of Ringworm, I guess. There's just so many things. So for people that don't know, this project that we tried to do was our first feature, or would be our first feature film, and we tried 2 different times to do it and failed both times due to it just seemed like everything was always against us, and it just seemed almost magically cursed. Actually, there was a part where like our first day of shooting, I think on the second time, like Enver's Jeep broke down and none of us could get to set, and so it just like completely ruined our first day. Or we were very late. I remember. I mean, this one's not funny at all, but like I don't even know if you guys know this, but this guy named Cody, he was in my Japanese class. He auditioned and then he passed away right after that as well. So we were like, man, that's so crazy. Like people are actually like dying. We had we lost the location, or it was always on the brink of losing it almost every day. Essentially, we'd always have to do things to like try and get this church to let us film the most ridiculous movie in there. And then the craziest one, I'm probably forgetting some of them, but one of the crazy ones is I actually got ringworm. I got this like really weird skin rash all over my body. It wasn't real ringworm, because like ringworm is this like really crazy. It looks nuts. It almost looks like Last of Us stuff growing out of your head. But it was an offshoot. The guy used the word. It's like a offshoot of ringworm. And this was while we were filming ringworm. I'm like, what? How is this possible? And so like after a while, it kind of just felt like this thing that we shouldn't do or something like that. I don't know. I feel like we could have maybe muscled through it, but I don't know. I kind of feel like as a group, we kind of all just eventually were like, I don't know, we can't do this or something. Like it kind of just fizzled out. It was just too hard.
It was too hard. It was a bit too ambitious too. But like, so it was already, the odds were like not in our favor, and then everything just went wrong.
Yeah, it was a massive undertaking, and we were still also kind of new to production processes and all of that. And as you're saying, Jeremy, there's just so much work that goes behind every second of tape that ends up on the screen eventually, and like 99.9% of film business is not glamorous at all. It is a brutal grind, but I also think this is why it was so much fun too, because we were all just like kind of learning all about all of that, kind of firsthand, like in the mix, making it work as best as we could. But yeah, ringworm was just we bit off more than we could chew.
It was nuts.
Particularly with that church.
Does anyone have the footage of that still?
Yeah, I got everything still.
Wow.
Oh, really?
That's crazy.
Yeah. I've recently, actually, like maybe a year and a half ago, because it was just sitting on drives, like physical hard drives. Same with Love Hate. I haven't finished doing that one because it's just the files are so large that it takes like weeks to like upload to Dropbox. But I want to get it all archived online so I don't lose it, because these drives are so old that they're going to just break and I'll just lose all my footage forever. But I did I think I have everything from Ringworm, and all the Liquid stuff is all saved.
Crazy.
Yeah, I think Love Hate's the only one I don't have everything fully backed up.
There's so much good stuff. Like some of that footage must be just hilarious to go through in Ringworm.
Yeah, I've never actually went back and like watched it. I was just like uploading forever, so I have it all. I have like all the days, both years, we have actual scenes that we did complete to some degree, and yeah, and we have this. I probably have the scripts, maybe even as well, because we have like the movie script, and then there's also the play.
Yeah, I have some of those
portion of the. Yeah,
I do have some scripts sitting around here.
It's always sat in the back of my mind as something like I think I could do that movie now pretty easily with the resources I have, and I have entertained like trying to do something with it still, because there are some really good moments in it
for sure. The bad script that we wrote is one of the funniest fucking things. Like it's I wrote songs for that play as well.
Well, that was the thing too. It was like a full play within a film.
Yeah, and you would see snippets of like the making of this play, but to make it feel good, we actually wrote the actual play, and so there would be scenes of us rehearsing scenes from the play or doing a read through with the cast, and it's actually the real play script that they're reading as well. But yeah, I have another memory that's kind of an offshoot of Ringworm as well, and I don't know if you guys will remember this at all, but Pants was there, and it's one of the hardest the hardest I've ever laughed in my life. But I had this friend, her name was Mara.
This is exactly the story I was going to tell.
Were you? Yeah. I'm curious if you would tell a different version, or if like how different they are. But I have a specific moment as well. Okay, so
oh god, that was the best.
I don't know. Did Jeremy disconnect on your guys's, or
he's not there?
Well, I'll just keep going. So yeah, my friend Mara she was in college, and she was doing her like her whole final project, her grade was going to be, everyone in class had to follow whatever, a band or some kind of creative person, and you would have to essentially document them, their journey, whatever they're doing. And she knew that I was doing creative stuff, and she knew that I was doing film and all that kind of stuff. So she asked if she could document the making of whatever I'm doing. And I was like, oh, we're actually filming this movie called Ringworm. And she's like, cool. And I was like, it'd be cool to have you along, because then we get all this making of footage and photos and this whole cool thing. And so she agreed to make her final project on the making of Ringworm. And it eventually, so obviously eventually the whole thing, the Ringworm, didn't happen at all, and she hadn't even started documenting yet. And when I talked to her, I'm like, I hadn't actually talked to her or told her that we're not doing it anymore, because her whole grade was determined by us making this movie. And I was like, oh man, if we don't have a movie anymore, her whole she's screwed. She has she's going to fail her entire class because she has nothing to do this on. So the plan we came up with was, we weren't going to tell her that Ringworm got canceled. Instead, we were going to just pretend we were going to pretend we were still making one, and invite her along so that she could record the making of this fake thing that she didn't know was fake. And so we invite her over to our house, which was Andrew's old house that we used to rent. Yeah. And we were in the basement, and I was like, yeah, we're just going to be rehearsing a bunch of scenes and stuff. So just come, and you can bring your camera or whatever and take photos of the whole thing and document the process or whatever. So she was not in on this at all. She thought she was coming over to document a real project, but all of us knew that it was fake. And we were just doing this solely so that she could feel like she was actually doing something real. And the thing we ended up doing was just so bizarre and kind of unplanned. Like, we just had a bunch of costumes and a bunch of people over. It was like Pants, Enver, myself. I think Paul might have been there for some reason.
I clearly remember that.
And I don't know if you have more specific memories of what we actually did there, but the one that stood out to me during this was there was a moment where like we all just sat in silence.
Yes,
and
this is what happened. Let me set it up. We decided this beforehand. We I think we did some scenes from Ringworm, but we were like, we're gonna make up some scenes that don't have anything to do with Ringworm at all. And we decided that one of them, and because I was like the director, and I went, okay, everybody, we're gonna start with the scene where everyone sits around while Paul cries. Everyone sits in silence while Paul cries. And that's what I remember.
Yeah, so it literally was like all of us were just sitting quietly for so long while he just had his hands in his face, and like it wasn't even like an overt huge cry. It was like every now and then just be like it went on for so long, and we were just kind of pranking her at this point to see if she would ever crack and be like, what are you guys doing? But it felt like 30 minutes of just like us quietly sitting in this room while Paul wept. And she did, like, there were moments I remember she did actually start laughing. Like it was just ridiculous. I remember I was like a fairy, some kind of fairy creature.
Paul was a werewolf at one point. Yeah.
It was just it was insane. But so we went out of our way to help her get a grade. I don't know if she ended up using any of that.
I know. I wonder if she has that footage. Oh my god, that was the best.
Did you ever see the final project?
No. I have photos from it, but I don't have any video or anything. I don't think so. Maybe
all I remember, and maybe this is wrong, but I remember she didn't get a great grade on it.
Yeah, I almost want to say she failed, or like she didn't have anything anyway after doing all of that. It was all for nothing. Yeah. I don't know, but that was one. Yeah, what?
Oh my god!
No, sorry. Go ahead. Finish your thing.
I was going to say, one more of my things that I wrote down was just the entire process of Liquid Trout Project. For me, even up till now, it was probably one of the most creatively fun things I've ever done. Just the and unique too, like especially for the time. Liquid Trout Project, for everyone listening who has no idea what I'm talking about, it was basically just a mockumentary/documentary about us playing exaggerated versions of ourselves, trying to come up with an idea to make a documentary on. And we only had like a very short amount of time before the festival deadline approached, which also was real as well. Like the actual Edmonton Film Festival deadline was approaching, and then in the fiction we had like a deadline as well. So the whole documentary or the whole mockumentary is this us sitting around trying to brainstorm ideas to do a documentary on. And the way we did that was we just went, was it your aunt's house or something? Or yeah. We were just in this house, and it was just a cool process where we just turned the cameras on and we would just improv for forever, like hours and hours and hours of improv. And then we would also go off on our own. And this is what's kind of cool, is that we would do these one-on-one, sort of like the Office style interview things, but we do them separately without telling each other what we're doing. And we would record, again, hours of footage of us just talking to the camera. And the unique thing about that is that we didn't really have that much of a structure or that much of a plan. We had a very loose, extremely loose outline, but like otherwise every person involved was kind of creatively in charge of themselves, and they could do whatever they wanted to do. And then in the edit, it all kind of came out, and we told a story using all this massive amount of improv. And this was Andrew's first thing with us, I think, as his kind of character named Lyle Bombay, which I don't know if you want to talk about briefly at all. But even you had full reign to kind of do kind of your own thing as well, which included doing a real documentary style thing where you would interview people, actual strangers in West Edmonton Mall as well. So we kind of and we mixed in fake people as well. But the whole process was just so fun and funny. We would just die laughing all the time, and it was fun to do scenes where we would start with no idea what we're going to do, but through the improv we would slowly actually build the scene together live, like in front of each other, and we like, okay, that's funny, let's say that next time. Oh, that was funny, let's remember to do that next time as well. And then by the end of it, by like hour 2, we would actually have like a scene that still felt improvised and loose, because there was never a script. And yeah, to this day, I think that was like one of the most fun projects I've ever done. And the final project was actually funny. I still think it was a very funny thing that I would probably still laugh at to this day.
Yeah, I remember as well, that was the first experience I've had of seeing a project I was involved in play on like the big screen as well, which is its own kind of fun little story. Because like, was it you, Cooper, who like knew one of the night managers at Silver City?
It was Jeremy.
Jeremy. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, how did that all come together? Because that was hilarious, because we like snuck 400 people through like the fire exit in Silver City.
It was supposed to be like 20 people, and the
yeah, that was my buddy Rob. I had a lot of friends that worked there, but Rob was basically like the night manager or whatever, and he said we could use one of the screens to do this screening. But it became like very quickly, once you guys actually started inviting people, that it was way more than 20. And I think you sold out the whole theater, or pretty much did. Like, it was full, and he was getting nervous because, you know, he's not night manager at a theater, isn't really an authority figure. So he was getting nervous because this was turning into a bit of a circus. And I think at one point he said we could make it more legit if you made it into like a charity thing. So you ended up adding like some sort of like
there's a breast cancer.
Breast cancer, yeah. So everyone who came in, they donated, and then all of a sudden he was a little bit more comfortable with it, even though it was
because the guy showed up, right? Didn't the head guy, like his boss, for whatever reason, showed up that night, and so he had to explain away what all these people were doing, and he wouldn't get mad at him if he was able to say, like, oh, we raised, you know, I think we raised over $400 or $500 for breast cancer that night, impromptu.
Like that.
Yeah,
and it was I just remember it was really exciting because I was the first time seeing your guys' projects on a huge screen like that. Yeah. But it was also like I was trying to also manage my friend who was about to he was like, I'm going to lose my job.